Good evening, and welcome back to the Owls Playbook. I'm Nate Wallenhopt, and this is an Equinox podcast. This week, we have a very special guest who is not a varsity athlete yet. And they also go along the lines of helping with other athletes. I will let them explain to you. So please welcome Liz Winsor.
How we doing? Welcome
I like that.
Welcome in.
I like the excitement. That makes me happy. That
So
makes
happy
me feel
to be
fun.
here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. So off the rip, as always, tell me about yourself, where you're from, your major, class, all that stuff.
The works. Okay. So my name is Liz Winsor. I'm a senior here. I'm an exercise science major. I'm from Clinton, Massachusetts. And I work as an assistant strength and conditioning coach for all the athletic teams here. And I'm also, I play club rugby here for Keene State.
Very nice.
Yep.
All right. So club rugby.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
About what the sport is?
Yes, because
Okay.
I have no idea anything about rugby at all.
Okay, so from a very broad, vague perspective, there's like two variations of rugby. Keene State holds both. So the first variation is called a 15 season, which typically is held in the fall. So that's 15 on 15, 30 people on the field at once, 40-minute halves. And then in the spring, typically we have our 7 season, which is 7 on 7, 7-minute halves. So it's only a 15-minute game, and that's more like tournament style.
Okay.
Basic rules of rugby. You run forward with the ball. If you want to make a pass, your teammate has to be behind you before you pass it. You can kick. You can tackle the person who has the ball. Tackles cause turnovers. If you throw the ball and it goes forward, you do what's called a scrum, which in 15s is essentially just 8 people on 8 people binding into each other and pushing for possession. So think of it like a reverse tug of war. So instead of pulling, you're pushing on each other for the ball. And then in 7s, we also have scrums, but it's 3 on 3. So it's a little smaller, a lot faster pace. That's the very, very vague explanation of what it is.
I like it. It made
Okay.
me understand it a little bit more. So it's like a very fast-paced, harder-hit football in a sense.
Essentially. And then when we're talking defense, you could almost consider it like man-to-man, like basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, so like
I like that.
you're in defense, you're in a flat line, and you all come up as like one big line up on your offense, and you pretty much have the person in front of you, and if they get the ball, that's your guy that you gotta hit. And then as it passes down the line, like no matter the size, you just gotta take it in and hit them. And then the ball works down the line, and hopefully you can either interfere it or you can hit the person with the ball to cause a turnover with a ruck.
How about padding?
Zilch.
Oh, gosh.
Zilch.
That's
Some
painful.
people, they have what's called scrum caps, which a lot of people wear in the scrum because in 15s, there's 8 people in the scrum, and I play a position called second row, which basically means, so there's 3 people in the front, and then there's 2 people behind.
Okay.
That's second row.
Yep.
And then there's other little people around there, but the second rows basically pause. They put their head in between the front row's legs, and they like support the front row.
Okay.
So that when they push, the front row doesn't fall over. And so it can mess up your ears. So people do it like wear scrum caps for like concussions or cauliflower ear, stuff like that. I don't wear one personally, but I have like taped my ears before, and like sometimes that helps. But if you do it right, it's not that bad.
That sounds bad to me. I'm not going to lie. That sounds straight painful.
Honestly, you step on the field, you give a hit, you take a hit, the rest is all adrenaline. You don't feel the rest. And then like at the end of the game, like you're sitting, you're chilling with your friends, and you like the adrenaline wears off and you start getting real achy, and then like you start getting really, really sore. Like sometimes my teammates make fun of me for this all the time. If I have like a really good game, like obviously because of my size, like I'm pretty contact heavy, like tackling, rucking, hitting, like that's my forte. I'm not a fast person.
Okay.
Never been my thing. So if I play a game and I got a lot of good hits, I've like done a lot of contact, like my adrenaline and my whole nervous system is just shot. And so at the end of the game, like I have nowhere to let out all that adrenaline and all that energy. And I'm just like so wired. I have nothing to do, but like I can't do anything else but cry.
Oh.
So I know. So I just got to, like, a lot of people like deal with it differently, but like I just come off the field and I'm just like hyperventilating and crying. And then my mom's usually always there and she just gives me a little hug.
Wow.
Yeah, so then that's how I come down. So if I play a good game, I'm usually crying at the end. Just because my body can't do anything else to get rid of the adrenaline.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me, since you guys are getting hurt and you have all that adrenaline,
Yeah.
do you take care of your players or do you have an athletic trainer there for you guys?
So on site, on games, because we're a club sport and we're a student-run organization, it's our responsibility to hire our own athletic trainers. And
Really?
Correct. And we can't use any of the athletic trainers that are part of the athletics department because that's just like a whole complicated different hiring process because they're under Keene State Athletics and we're under student organizations. So it's like two completely different payroll systems.
Wow.
So we have to like call Cheshire Fire Department or we have to call Cheshire Hospital for athletic trainers there. We have to like talk to friends of friends of friends of friends who are athletic trainers. And then we have to hand them all the hiring paperwork and make sure they have their own insurance so that they can watch our games. And then we pay them. So yeah, on site at games, we have to have an athletic trainer. But as soon as the whistle blows and the game's done, like you're on your own.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, like, we've had girls tear their ACLs, we've had concussions, like, we've had all that stuff, and, like, we've had a girl break her foot last fall, and, like, she was on her own. I mean, fortunately enough, they're all healthy now, and they're all back to playing now, which is more than we could have ever asked for. It's amazing, but, like, it's a really physically demanding sport, and we're just kind of, like, especially with an EMT there over an athletic trainer, if an EMT... I kind of forget how it works, to be honest. Athletic trainers can take care of us, and they can, like, tape us. They can, ice us. They can give us a little bit better of an assessment if we get hurt. Like, I got hurt in the fall. I got, like, kicked in the eye pretty bad, and I was seeing double, and the EMT really couldn't do anything. He gave me an ice pack, but that was about the full extent of it, and he's like, you should go to the ER.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, he doesn't really have the same type of experience or, like, certification or licensing to sort of be able to give me any type of diagnosis or proper care other than like basic first aid type thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how do you and how does your team feel about all of that?
We want to go under athletics real bad. Like we want to go varsity, not even just for the fact of athletic trainers. Like we want to be able to recruit so bad. Recruitment's huge for our team, for our girls. Like numbers bring wins. Mm-hmm. Any team will tell you that. And we're just such a tight community. So, like, any girl that, like, quits a varsity team, we try and pull her in for a club team just because numbers are so good for us. And you don't need to know the sport. Every year we have to go over basics because we have new girls every single year.
Wow.
But also, like, if we were under athletics, we wouldn't have to worry about athletic trainers being at our games. We wouldn't have to worry about officials at our games because we have to hire our own officials as well. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have to worry about how we're getting to a game. So whether more often than not, we have to rent our own vans from Enterprise or drive our own vehicles, or we have to call a bus company to try and get a bus. Mm-hmm. And it's a school bus. Like, we don't get those nice coach buses.
Yeah, no.
I mean, if we get a school bus, we're considered lucky. That we don't have to drive ourselves. Like, that's a plus.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, like, let's say we have an overnight tournament. Like, fortunately, our hotels and, like, all of that, the expenses are usually covered. But, like, figuring out how we get to the hotel, finding a hotel, booking the hotel. Like, the students have to do all of that. And then, like, getting to and from the field and the hotel and then coming back home, like, planning all of that's on our e-board, mm-hmm. which are students. So, like...
It's a lot to put on you guys.
Yeah, it's just a lot of additional work. And, like, thank God our teammates are, like, so passionate and so dedicated to the girls and our team. But, like, it's not adequate, I feel. For the amount, like, we're good, too. We're nationally ranked. Women's rugby, Keene State Women's Rugby is 14th in the country.
No kidding.
For 15s, yeah. And nobody knows. Like,
That's
we're
insane.
good. We're good. We compete. And, like, real conferences, real games, real playoff tournaments. And, like, nobody knows. We have 26 girls on our team.
Wow.
Nobody knows.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like that, if we were under athletics, like our coach, he wouldn't have to make like pennies for money. He could do this as a full-time job. And my coach is one of the most passionate guys I've ever met in general. Like he's so passionate on things in life. And then when he applied for the job, I was on e-board at the time, so I sat in on the hiring process, and me and other e-board members were the ones that gave like the final yay or nay. And best decision we ever made. He thought the position was volunteer, and then he found out he was only making like a couple grand for the year, and he was like, fine with me, whatever.
Wow.
So he's dedicating like 100% of his time right now to rugby. Wow. For pennies.
That's insane.
And so this way he could make like a real living, and then he could dedicate even more time to recruiting, retention, you know, getting new tackling pads, like adequate fields, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because right now, in the spring especially, the Joyce fields, you know where that is? Joyce fields, that's where we typically practice in the fall. The fields get destroyed from the rain, the mud, and if we practiced on there in cleats, like, it's just a mess. Like, we can't play on it. And there's only one field on Joyce that can hold our uprights. So, like, in the springtime, if we want to host anything, we have to wait until really, really late in the spring season when the ground's, like, dry enough and there's no snow. So, like, we can't use the turf to host anything because we can't put uprights up there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, it's just, like, a lot of little things that we're like, oh, we got to work around this. Oh, we got to work around this. Oh, we can't do this because we're club. So there's just a lot of things that are just deterring us from just playing rugby. Like just showing up to practice, showing up to games, leaving it out there, and then going home. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Give your pitch. Because I know that Marty watches some of the episodes. I know that Abe watches some of the episodes. And I know that President Melinda watches some of the episodes.
Oh, boy.
So if you guys are watching, which I hope that you are, because I usually ask if you do, take a listen.
Okay. This is right off the dome piece, okay?
Oh, boy. Be excited.
I, Liz Winsor, have been playing rugby for 5 years. I played 3 sports in high school, and athletics have been a huge part of my life for a long time. Rugby has changed my life for the better. I have never felt so connected with a group of young women and so valued in a group more than I have than with Keene State Women's Rugby. And if it wasn't for Keene State Rugby, I would not be keeping rugby in my life for years and years to come post-graduation. And so if we keep this sport going and if we grow the popularity with the sport, despite all the perks that come from athletics, we will also continue to create a group of supportive, wonderful young women to keep building a strong community throughout Keene State, because we do a lot for the college as well. We're involved in all of the tabling events that go on around campus. We do fundraising. We're very active on campus on social media. We have a presence, and I think it just deserves to be recognized. Aside from all the perks and benefits that we would get, that's what this team deserves.
Absolutely. I like it.
Thanks.
I think that was great. Me personally, I think that was great. Now, I'm not in control of athletics here.
Course.
I just like to speak to everybody in the athletics world. So if it were me, I'd be like, oh, check the box. Here you go. Blank check. Figure it out.
Yeah,
But,
if I'll know Marty and Abe watch this episode if they come talk to me.
I mean, I'll
In the
let
gym.
them know. I'll let them know.
When I'm standing in the same exact place every single day that Marty catches me at, he knows. Inside joke.
All right. Well, then tell us about that. Tell
Okay.
us about that spot. What do you do besides rugby now?
Okay. The big steak and potatoes of my time is dedicated to working as an assistant strength coach for the athletics department. I work under Sarah Testo, who's the head soccer coach and also head strength and conditioning coach. I started working for her last semester, and it was under an internship.
Okay.
And so this semester, I was able to come back hired on, which was huge. So I'm essentially doing the same thing as I was last semester, just with the perk of some extra money.
Fair enough.
I think at this point, I have worked with every single team on campus except for swim and dive.
Okay.
Because swim and dive does not want to do varsity lifts with Sarah Testo. Not sure why. Not my business. But
Interesting.
I digress. I think they have their own thing. But essentially, my responsibilities include writing the programs. So Throughout the whole school year, I've written programs for men's lacrosse, men's basketball, women's volleyball, women's lacrosse, track, golf. I'm pretty sure I've also done like a few small programs day by day for certain sports, but Sarah takes on a lot of the other ones. And then we have another strength intern named Will Sloan, and track is that's his sport, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then we have another intern, his name's Sam, and he's just sort of like in the learning process. He's doing the same internship that I did, so he's not technically an employee. So he's just kind of in the learning phase right now. I want to sort of work him into getting a little bit more hands-on with programming, but he's just kind of sitting and watching right now. And then we're also responsible for actually being at the lifts, setting up all the equipment, directing them through it, making sure they stay safe, doing everything correctly. If we have an injury, we got to give a modification or learn how to work around it for the athlete. And then also just like building rapport, creating a relationship and an environment that they're comfortable in for them to work really hard in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said when they have an injury, you guys have to work around it.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, if they have like direct words from the trainer, they'll either give yay or nay, or like upper body only, lower body only type of thing. Or if it's just any other day. And like this morning we were with baseball and one kid on the team was like, this hurts my shoulder. And I'll say, okay, we'll do this instead. Or I had a soccer player last week and he goes, oh, I separated my shoulder. I think that's what it was. I tore my shoulder like a year ago, so it hurts to do this. And so I said, okay, grab these two things. You're going to do this instead. So just like working on the fly, just to give a quick modification or progression to an exercise to make sure that the athlete's more comfortable and still getting something out of the lift is huge. But my program, like I've taken tons of classes where like that's just off the dome at this point.
Okay.
Like learning how to quickly progress exercises, like I felt so prepared coming into it. And then actually being asked the questions by the athletes, like, hey, what can I do instead of this? This hurts. What can I do instead of this? Like it's just helped me a lot.
Great.
So yeah, I can think of anything on the dime.
All right. Fair enough. So anything in particular that you want to talk about? So we talked about rugby. You gave your pitch.
Yes.
And then we talked about what you do outside of rugby. So anything else that is absolutely important or not even important that you just want to discuss?
Okay. First of all, I can say after this morning, men's baseball did want me to shout them out. So shout out men's baseball.
Shout out men's baseball.
You guys rock. We go 2 times a week with them. Really hard workers. Obviously, all the teams that I work with are really hard workers, but they just wanted the shout out. So,
of course.
Gotta pay my respects. I think it's really important to talk about how time in the weight room reflects on seasons.
Okay.
And reflects on performance. Because I feel like from my perspective is definitely a lot different from the typical varsity athlete. I grew up going to an athletic development facility. Ever since I was in the 7th grade, I understood that what you did in the weight room reflects what you do in a sport.
Okay.
And because I didn't start playing sports until I got into high school, I started sports super, super late. I was always kind of a beat behind. I never did well as everybody else that's been playing for years. I used that training, and I noticed how much it helped me like accelerate and almost like play catch up so much more quickly. So that's what kind of got me into coaching and strength and conditioning, especially with younger kids. My expertise is definitely with younger kids, like middle school, lower high school age, but college is cool too. Lost my train of thought a little bit. Okay.
You're good.
Okay. So I already kind of had a grip that like what you do in the weight room will reflect how you perform and just overall function and longevity. What I see a lot, especially at the Keene State level, is I see either athletes that have never lifted before in their life, and the only reason why they're playing a varsity sport is because they've been playing the sport their whole life. And they just kind of get good because they've been doing it for so long, type of thing. Or B, someone that does train really, really hard in the weight room, but it's not necessarily sport specific. It's not necessarily functional. It's just kind of the typical back buys, chest tries, legs type of vibe. Bro lift, you could call it. And that definitely helps. That definitely makes them stronger. But I noticed that I just think to myself, like, it could be so much better. Like, it could be so much more specific. Like, if they just did this, it would help with this. If they just did this, it would help them with this. And getting them to buy in to what, and so that my thinking goes into those programs, and then getting them to agree with the program when they're actually in a session with me is one of the hardest things that I've faced as a strength coach.
Interesting.
And I think my age has a lot to do with it, because realistically, these are my peers. Like,
Sure.
some of these people are my friends, my classmates. I've known them since my freshman year, like, see them on the weekends. Like, it's just a different relationship that I've created with these athletes that Sarah Testo wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and getting them to understand that, A, I know what I'm talking about, but B, this stuff is like the bread and butter to making you guys succeed in your sport. Like, you guys got to buy in. So getting teams to sort of trust what you're saying and getting them to buy in on what you're saying has been one of the biggest challenges. Like, for example, men's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it, successful team.
Very.
Yeah. That's just me, like, scratching the surface. Successful team. That team is one of the most athletic group of guys I have ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just natural athleticism. Because realistically, they're not putting, this is me being real. Real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Realistically, those guys are not spending a lot of time on their own in the weight room. And they're definitely not spending a lot of time doing, like, functional, athletic, sport-specific training unless it's a session with me or Sarah.
Interesting.
There's, like, obviously Jeff, see him in the weight room. Steven Cordero, I've seen him the past couple of days postseason in the weight room. Like, obviously there's exceptions to what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at a session with them, we have plyometrics, which are like jumps, throws. They'll do jumps and throws all day long. They love plyos.
Mm-hmm.
They come in the weight room. Well, I don't want to go too heavy because I don't want to get too big. I don't want to miss my shot.
Understandable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, the average Joe, I would say, oh, totally checks out. But getting them to realize that that's not exactly how it works, and there's a lot more to it than just, like, picking up a weight and messing up your shot. Like, getting them to, like, sort of wrap their head around that when that's kind of all they heard growing up, and they've been playing basketball their whole life before they even picked up a weight. Like, getting them to wrap their head around that is super, super difficult. But then let's talk about the opposite end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Men's baseball.
Yep.
Confidently can say hardest working team in the weight room. If we're talking numbers-wise, strongest team in the weight room as well. When we do testing with them, like, their numbers are great.
Yeah.
Like, Sarah Testo and I are very, very satisfied with baseball. You know, blood works them to the bone. Love blood. Coach blood. But if we talk about their record, like, their record doesn't look too good.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can't necessarily say, like, just because you deadlift this much weight, that doesn't mean that your baseball swing is going to be out of this world.
Sure.
So you need that. You need both. So you need that sports-specific training. You need that strength. You need that power. But you also need that practice, that, you know, 10,000 hours, that rep after rep after rep. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so finding that balance between athlete and weightlifter and meshing the two together to create that, like, perfect athlete has definitely been the biggest challenge in strength and conditioning. And also, complete subject change. The weight room is not adequate.
Ooh, okay.
Not adequate. Sarah will tell you that. Marty will tell you that. Every single athlete on any team can tell you that sharing a weight room that's, first of all, really small, really awkward shaped, but sharing a weight room with General Pop is not right.
No.
And I'll even defend General Pop. The regular person just trying to get their everyday lift in, they don't deserve to be kind of, like, bombarded by 25 sweaty athletes, and they're, like, have no equipment left to work around.
Yeah.
Track and field, they lift 2-3 times a week at 2:00. That's, like, a busy time in the gym. So they're stuck to, like, boxes, bands, maybe 1 or 2 benches. And there's, like, 15, 20 kids in there all trying to get their lift in on top of General Pop, stuck to, like, just, you know, peanuts and scraps for equipment.
Sure.
Like, it's not fair. And obviously we can't like work a miracle in a day type of thing. Like this is something that needs to be planned, and this has been said that it's in the coming for some time, but I think it's definitely what the athletes deserve. And I think the facility would make them more motivated to train. If they had a space that they could call their own and they could essentially do whatever within reason, like I think that would be more motivating for them, that they had their own space that they could dedicate all their hard work to.
Absolutely.
Rather than like almost like sharing it with like the regular person. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I see their athlete, like the athletes struggle a lot. And also like scheduling is just a pain because we can only take teams between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. and then between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like teams hate the mornings. I can't blame them. Like I'm up at 4:50 every morning because I got to be there at 5:30 for a team.
Sure.
So like, but that's just what we're left with. That's what we have to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I have to say about strength and conditioning.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
That was a great answer.
Because realistically, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Long-term athletic development is something that I'm super passionate about. So having the opportunity to even work under Sarah Testo and work under athletics has been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's also, like, I have a couple, like, jobs back home that are similar, like, youth athletic development type of vibe. And, as much as it's been amazing working for them back home, like, I enjoy learning from other people. So learning from Sarah, learning even from other coaches in the department has been amazing. And it's made my time here a really good return of investment. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like the in-depth. I like that a lot. That is probably one of the best answers I've gotten from that question.
That was thorough.
That was very thorough.
That was almost just like me venting a little bit. But like I just want to emphasize, like, I could say all these things that are just like facility's not adequate, like the athletes aren't buying in, whatever you want. Like I love the teams. I love the athletic department. I do love Keene State Athletics. Like I love the AD. Everything about the heart of the program is there, and I love it. But, it's just me getting nitpicky. So I don't want anybody to think that, like, I'm ungrateful or that I'm not enjoying my time because it has been, like, a blessing working under athletics.
Hey, I mean, that's what this show is all about,
yeah.
Right? I want people to have their voice, and I want people to share what they want to share. So that was exactly why I made this show.
Okay.
So I love that.
There you go.
That was phenomenal.
Okay.
10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Great work.
All right.
All right. So we'll send you off on this final question.
Oh, boy.
It's the most known question on the show. I've been asking it for pretty much every single week so far.
Okay.
Inspirational. Get inspirational for the future of Keene.
Okay. So my time here at Keene, it's obviously a small college, right? I have used that to my advantage, and I truly feel as if I have sucked Keene State College dry of everything I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and on and on about all the things that I've done with my time here at Keene State, but the one piece of advice that I can pass on to people is that everything you do should be considered either A, something rewarding in the moment, or B, a return of investment in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, working for Sarah Testo last semester, I had to get 160 internship hours, which came out to about 15-ish hours a week.
Yep.
That's a lot.
It is.
On top of school.
Oh, yeah.
Waking up at 4:50 every day just to be with these teams, just for some internship hours. I'd be lying if I said it was easy, and it wasn't. But at the end of the day, I met these incredible athletes. I've learned so much. Now I'm working for her.
Yep.
And I think, I got a pretty good recommendation letter from Sarah, too, for grad school. So, it paid off in a multitude of ways. I've worked as a research assistant for a professor in the exercise science department. And, research assistant work is not glamorous. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of proofreading. It's a lot of forms and, running studies and, this not working, having to restart. But the professor I worked under, her name's Dr. Mel Adams. She's amazing. She's the one that probably pushed me the most to consider graduate school. And, as much as I would sit in her office and just like pull my hair out because I wasn't understanding what I was reading, I've been able to give speeches across New England regarding our research. I've been able to speak at conferences around Keene State regarding our research. It was me and then one other student, Sophie Hatch. Sophie Hatch, if you're watching, you rock. But all I can say is I can just be so grateful now, even though in the moment it was such a challenge, but it's something that I would never at the time consider myself being able to accomplish.
Sure.
And it's just been a great return of investment because I've learned so much, I've experienced so much, and then, Dr. Adams, again, she helps me get into grad school. Mm-hmm. So all these people that I've been able to work with that have been a huge return of investment in the future, it's just been so beneficial to me. And that's why, here it comes.
Okay.
Here it comes. If it's not a return of investment, you got to use your resources. Why?
Why?
Because your network, say it with me, your network is your
net
net
worth.
worth. All right.
There it
All
is.
right. So it's all about who you know. And what's great about Keene State is that it's so small, so it never hurts to send an email. If you have a question, if there's something you want to do, send an email. And I feel like you can agree with this too, with this whole podcast.
Yes.
Just send the damn email.
Networking.
You know what I mean? It's all about
networking.
And again, when I was applying to grad school, I was networking with the head of the department, and he was a huge help in getting me accepted. So again, your network is your net worth.
Yes,
Reach out to people. If they can benefit you in any way, have them help you. Be of service to that person. That's my biggest piece of advice. Anywhere, not necessarily Keene State, but just put in the work. Put in the work. Working's fun when it's something you love to do and it's something you're passionate about.
Absolutely it is. I love that.
Yeah.
Network is your net worth.
That's right.
For sure. That is awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Liz, again for coming on. This has been a phenomenal episode.
Thanks.
Great answers, great energy. This was awesome. I hope you guys stayed for the whole entire thing because this was quite a great episode, and I can't wait for it to release. So when it releases on Friday, I hope you enjoy.
Wait, this Friday?
This Friday,
Oh
5
my
p.m.
gosh.
5 p.m. every Friday.
Spring break episode.
Yes.
What up?
You have the whole break to watch it. There is no excuse not to watch it.
That's right.
Tune in. Again, thank you. There will be no episode next week because it's spring break and I will be busy.
Give the man a break.
Just
Give the man
a
a break.
tiny break. Just a
Come
tiny
on,
break.
let him kick his feet up.
But the week after, we have a very special guest as well. So
Can you give a
stay
hint
tuned.
who it is?
She's a basketball player.
Woo!
She's pretty well known around here. So
Woo!
she's very, very cool.
Oh,
and I'm
I
very
have a
excited
feeling who
about
it is.
Well,
I'm
no
not gonna say it. I'm not
no
gonna say it.
spoilers.
I'm
No
not gonna say
spoilers. But it's going to be a great one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode because I sure did. And I can't wait to come back in 2 weeks. So we're not done yet. I'll see you guys soon and have a great weekend. Goodbye.